some people around the league believe it's the lack of practicing because you're not building up your muscles in that same way. And
That's a good point too. Yeah.
some other people like me will say, well, a lot of these kids are also coming into the league a little more worn out than they used to be.
NBA has to address this, man. They have to at least go and look in and do their research as to why is this happening? Why are star players going through these devastating injuries in the postseason after an 82 game regular season, after a round or two of the playoffs, competitive basketball? Some of these guys are playing every other day, and I've always been an advocate for seeing the NBA not cut down from the 82 games, because from a business standpoint, that's just not going to happen, for being realistic, but adding a week or 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Like, stagger these games a bit. I just think the NBA, like, if you talk to most doctors or people who are around, sports science, they'll say, like, the body's not supposed to play full basketball games 4 games a week, let alone with the way the NBA is nowadays, and its pace is faster than ever, or at least faster than it was in the 70s. And they weren't obviously playing those. They weren't the way it is now. The way modern basketball is now today, with all the technology. I mean, they didn't have that back then. Like, why can't the NBA get ahead of this, or at least try to? With everything that they have, all these resources and all these, Sergio Max used to tell me all the time, man. Back in the day, there was the coach and there was a couple assistants. And now you got trainers. You got. You got 2 rows of assistant coaches. You got personnel who are
shooting coaches,
who are hired for specific things.
Yeah,
like, there has to be some sort of research or some sort of effort by the NBA during this offseason to try to address this and see what's going on.
Okay, you teed me up for one of my favorite things to get pissed off about. And then I'll get to the comments. I do think they should shorten the season. I don't think they will because of the money, as you mentioned. But one of the things that I always mention when it comes to this is, I know injuries could be freaky, but we all know that they're happening more often than ever. And that's just across every sport. That's not even limited to here with basketball. The best teams in Europe play in a season across all competitions 60-something, maybe 70-something, maybe like 80-plus games, maybe. But oftentimes it'll be in like the 60s or maybe 70 or something along those lines, like the best teams.
Right.
These games are also spaced out more. They play fewer back-to-backs. They don't travel as much throughout Europe, and they're 40-minute games. They're not 48-minute games.
Yeah.
And they also play deeper rotations. It's common for teams where their best players playing not even 30 minutes a night. Whereas in the NBA, that's every team has multiple guys basically playing.
Pretty much the starters playing 30 plus.
Yeah.
Mine is a guy or two, maybe he hits 28, 27, but for the most part, they're playing 30 plus.
And if you look at the Knicks this past year, for example,
oh man, your boy. Your boy has his favorites. Jeez.
But this is the difference. And when you look at just those different things, and guys in Europe, like, injuries happen. They're not happening like the way that it happens here. Same thing in Australia, and those seasons are shorter. In China, the seasons are shorter. In Puerto Rico, the seasons are shorter as well. Like everywhere else, and in most leagues, the minutes are shorter. Or the minutes are fewer, rather. But regardless, like, the best teams are not even often playing a full NBA game's worth of a calendar season or a calendar year or whatever. And on top of that, you have 82 plus preseason plus the playoffs. If you play a playoff round and preseason, that's already at 90 because you have 4 preseason games. You'll have at least 4 playoff games if you make it to the playoffs. We know that more than half the league makes the playoffs because it's 16 teams out of 30. So you're talking about half the league, more than half the league playing 90 games. And then if you play like deeper into the first round or you get a second round, you could get to 100 depending on how long the series is, because you have your 82, you have your 4 preseason games, you have give or take 6 games in the next 2 rounds. Like, you add 12 to that. So that's basically like 98. You're right at 100 games. And if you're deeper to that, obviously, like look at what Oklahoma City just did. They played over 100 games this year. So did the Pacers. Probably so did the Knicks. Probably so did who was to the Western Conference Finals? Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Why am I blanking on that?
Well, no,
they got they lost in 5, but regardless.
And I was gonna say, man, the Thunder they got lucky. I mean, yeah, Holmgren was a tough loss, but I mean, look at a lot of these other teams, that lost more than one
the
player.
Injuries. Yeah. The point of it is though, like I think, and then on top of that, this is the other piece to get to that's worthwhile. The game is faster than before. The game is much, much faster. Indiana plays a taxing style of basketball, even though it's very finesse.
I mean, look at the way that first quarter started, man. It was,
it's
like, fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. It's fun to watch, especially for Game 7, but
it's hard to do that. And some NBA teams will be like the increase in injuries. Some people around the league believe it's the lack of practicing because you're not building up your muscles in that same way. And some other people,
that's a good point too. Yeah.
Some other people like me will say, well, a lot of these kids are also coming into the league a little more worn out than they used to be because they're not playing multiple sports. They're just specializing in a sport growing up. They're playing that sport 12 months of the year. They're playing high level, high leverage games at a very young age, 5 games in a weekend because of whatever the schedule is. It doesn't have to be AAU. I'm not going to label it AAU because we have different sneaker circuits and tournaments and this jam and classic and all these different things that you've covered. Just going into it. So like it's a combination of all these different things sort of meeting at the NBA level. And it wasn't common before to see guys in their 20s and women in their 20s blowing out their Achilles, tearing their knees. It's kind of crazy. So I think the league has to really take a look into it. Maybe it's like you said, spacing out schedule, but I don't know if that's going to be good either, because then you're just making the grind kind of longer. The real answer is just making the schedule 70, 68 games or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I just feel like the NBA would never do it. But
I don't think they are either, because even overseas, like they space it out more, but also like it's not frowned upon to compete in Eurobasket, which is going to be this summer, the AmeriCup, which is going to be this summer, Afrobasket also this summer, and the Asian Cup also this summer. Like you can do those things while playing in your team in Europe. You can also play in like the World Cup qualifying rounds that are periodically through November and February and the summer. Like you can still do those things because you're playing shorter basketball games, not as many minutes, 2-3 games in a week. It's spaced out better.
Yeah.
Like they just have a better formula out there in different parts of Europe. It's not just Europe, period. And also Australia and Puerto Rico, et cetera. Yeah, I think with the NBA, it's just they need to just do something different. And I don't think they're going to do it because money. Like that's ultimately what it comes down to. So
you think their attempt at it was with the NBA Cup?
No. I think that was just to make the regular season like matter more and earlier. And I like the NBA Cup as a concept, but
they address the ratings during NFL season.
Yeah,
I feel like there's no way you can really. I mean, but anyway, that's beside the point. But those long breaks for teams that don't advance, I feel like that was sort of like they try to kind of address two things at once.
I don't know, but
obviously it's not enough.
You're still like, and they've tried. They've cut down back-to-backs. I think travel was a big part of this. Like the blood clot thing was scary. You had Damian Lillard and Victor Wembanyama having blood clots, and some people came out, from the medical field and were like, "Hey, these guys are flying a lot." Not that that's why, but like that could be a contributing factor. And also flying often at shitty times. You finish up a game in your time zone at 10. You have to do media. You have to eat and all these different things. You have to bust it back. To hop on a plane to go to the next city. You're landing in that next city at like 4 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes. You're going to bed like how late at that point? 5, 6? Like, like this is a common thing. And we're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, it's the NBA, whatever. But it's hard. It's hard to do all that and play 48 minutes hard. You're running. It's fast. It's 4 times in a week in a 7-game, like, 4 games and 6 nights and all these different things. Like it's hard. It's hard to do that. And it's harder now than it used to be because the game's played at a different pace. among all these other things that I mentioned. So they have to take a deep look into it. And I don't know what the answer is other than just shortening the season, but I don't think they're going to do that.